The following is a public access production. It is not produced, sponsored, or endorsed by this station, the local government, or the cable providers. The program producer is solely responsible for the content of this program.
Welcome to Bummy's Kitchen, a show about cooking, love, goofing, dancing, and more love. I love to dance, party, and cook, and so I came up with this show to showcase all of that and hopefully share some of it with you guys and spread the fun of it. Ranging from cooking fundamentals to recipes to interviews, music concerts, recreating viral meals, and more. We have it all. And this is the first of many, so I wanted to create a show where it felt more connected and you guys could follow along with me and really learn, because a lot of shows, they just do it and they don't really tell you. So I wanted to kind of take what I learned and kind of take you through the courses that I learned at the Culinary Institute and bring them to you and show you that it's not as scary as it might seem. So I guess to do that and to start with that, we're starting with the fundamentals. So tonight is knife cuts. Woo! It's not very fun, but it is very important, and that way you can follow along in the future recipes that I will be doing, and you can know what to do and know these words and know these lingos, because I know before I started in these shows, they would say a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo and I would have no idea. So to start, in case you do want to follow along, I'll list off the ingredients and the utensils that you would need. So to start, chef knife. This is a chef knife. Very exciting. It's for most of the chopping. Paring knife. This is for a lot of the precision. You'll need this for these tomatoes. Tongs, also for the tomatoes. A steel, sharpen the knife. 2 onions, 2 potatoes, 3 tomatoes, 1 shallot, some thyme, parsley, and garlic. I was supposed to have cheesecloth, but then I forgot that you probably wouldn't find it at your local grocery store. So to simulate, we're going to be using paper towel. It's not going to work quite the way we would want it, but we'll get along. A couple bowls to put, your onions, your potatoes, compost bowl, and a pot of water to boil the tomato so that you can peel it. Yeah, without further ado, I think we're good to go. So step number 1 is you're going to want to heat up your water. I probably should have done that before, but, we're learning. Okay. So to start, I'm going to take these, I'll put them in this bowl so we can have it out of the way, as well as the garlic. I'm going to need 3 of those first. Okay. First things first, we'll start with the onions. And with that, we're going to need to hone our knife. So a big misconception that people have with these is these don't actually sharpen your knife, rather than they hone the steels to go all in the same direction. It kind of works similarly, and it will help you cut, but it doesn't quite do the same action, which I do need to sharpen these knives. So next time I'll have it sharpened. So when you're going to want what angle is this? Maybe a 15-degree angle, something like that. You can some people do it this way. I feel like I have more control holding it down. You can also plant it on wherever you want. And so when you're doing this, you want to hear that nice whistling sound, where because sometimes people have it too much at an angle and you don't really get that, and it doesn't quite do the same that you would like for, so you're basically just doing it for no reason. Okay. So first, onions. They're used in a lot of cuisines. Almost one of the most commonly used produce. So, cutting onions. Maybe just take this little guy off. When you cut an onion, sometimes you're going to want to cut it right down the middle. If you cut it this way, you're going to be making a whole lot of onion rings, and that's not going to really help us. So we're going to be first slicing the onion. Hopefully that doesn't slide around too much. Actually, you know what? This is also a good tip and trick. When starting, what we did, I don't have any actual real towels, so we're going to make do. What you want to do, if you wet some like towels, I'm using paper towels here because that's what I have handy. You stick it under. You want to actually really rinse it out though, so it's not just soaking wet. But you want it damp so it doesn't, you know, kind of, at least tries to hold place, you know, hold it still. That seems better. Okay, so when you cut it in half, next thing you want to do is obviously peel. You're looking for where it's still like shiny. I went a little over, but that's okay. And then if you do, you know, no big deal. Just peel one more layer. Because that way it's a lot easier to cut. When it's more dull and not shiny, your knife might slide off and you might cut off your hand. So you don't want to do that, ideally. I mean, maybe you do, I don't know. So here's our compost bucket. That's going to be really useful. And so that way you keep a tight station, tight mind, or I think it's clean, whatever. Okay. Remove the tops. So first, we're going to be doing this first onion is going to be doing slices. You want to kind of come at it at an angle so you don't have those flat. Sometimes if you just cut like this, you're going to have a big flat piece where it's kind of just like a plate, I guess is the best word. So you're going to want to come at it at an angle. We're going to be cutting it around 1/8 of an inch. Ideally. This is, I don't know if this is quite 1/8 of an inch. Chef G would be mad at me. Where is, okay. You want to kind of go down as far as you can without really cutting through the onion. That way you don't deal with similar aspect on the side, as you don't want to deal with a big thing right here. So we're actually going to cut the root off. When you cut the root off, you'll most likely start crying, which kind of sucks. Oh wait, yeah, no, actually we do, I forgot. We are slicing the onion, so you do actually want to cut it all the way through. Okay. It actually looks like it might almost all be. Okay. So ideally you're looking for around like this, you know, like a nice 1/8 of, yeah, this is good, nice. This is good. See right here, this is kind of what I was talking about, although I didn't quite run into this problem, but where you can is you'll get kind of like a, well, luckily we didn't. I'll show you kind of what I mean. It's kind of like this, but extended, where you get this big kind of slice at the end of the onion, which is no good. I'm only gonna just show you half of the onion. We don't have to do the other half. So for the other half, we're just gonna do, I'll show you the dice, how to dice an onion. We're gonna be small dicing. So actually, you know what, I'll do large as well. You don't really large dice an onion, but we can do medium and small. So something you're gonna want to do. So I'll show you two different ways that I've learned. This is the way that they'll teach you. I feel like for me, in my mind, this is a little bit slower of a process than the other way that I learned in Wyoming in my internship. So what you're going to want to do is you cut it across horizontally. So then, and then that way, when you cut it at the top, it gives you squares, dices. And then, finally, you're just going to want to cut it across the top. You want to try and make it, so this is going to be a small dice. You want to try and make it like this square. Nice little squares, perfect squares. As close as you can get to uniform. That's what we're looking for. You don't really want to add the root because the root is really tough. So if you cut around that and then just toss that, you should be all good. So typical things you would use a small dice for is, I guess, a lot of sauces. One that immediately comes to my mind is like a tomato sauce, which, stick around, we will be doing the mother sauces probably in 2 episodes. So there you go. There's a small dice. That's one way of doing a small dice. I'll show you the other way of doing a small dice. You know, when they say small / medium, it's really just how tightly you make the squares. It's just how small you want the squares. So if you were to make a medium dice, it'd be like not quite double the square, but almost. Well, you can move that over there. Okay. Beautiful. What a fun time. This is also really handy. I don't know why I'm still using my hands. This is a bench scraper. It's called a bench scraper. Great for using this to pick up a lot of stuff instead of just using your hands. Great for efficiency, you know, in case you're in a kitchen. If you ever find yourself in a kitchen, I don't know why you would. They kind of suck. That's why I'm here. But if you did, it's a lot easier than using your hands. I'll tell you that. Ugh. You don't want to be stuck using your hands and then your chef comes over and yells at you and asks why you're taking 50 years on onions. Okay. Next onion, I'll show you the second part, the second dice. This is a less common way. The one I just showed you is the most common, but I'm not that big a fan of that anymore. Just like what I was talking about, you know, efficiency is kind of very important. Take your onion, kind of cut both halves. You don't have, you know, try not to cut them that far back because you know you don't want to waste. You want to try and keep the waste to minimum. So around there, kind of keep it uniform. It also helps with the root problem, and the root is kind of tough to chomp through. Nobody really wants to eat a root, so you just take it off. Although once again you will start probably crying. Okay, so this is the less common version of cutting, or dicing rather. You keep it same way we had it. So instead of going down this way, you're actually going to start going, don't go the top like you're slicing it, you go across, and you're gonna want to basically pretend you're slicing it. Keep it at like the size of a small dice though. Whoops, which that was not. And so similar, we're gonna come at an angle. Come at an angle. It's kind of removing like 2 steps, I think. So you really only have to cut it 2 different ways, and then it'll start shaping out, and you can find that you just avoided a whole lot of extra steps. Oh, this knife still is pretty good. And then you just finish up with that. Okay. Okay. So something I'm still working on is like keeping my bear claw. When you're cutting, you want to try and keep a bear claw. I find it hard to really like move and keep motion with keeping that claw, but you really want to so that you don't slice your little fingies off. I've done that before. It's not really fun. Wouldn't recommend. Okay, so here, basically, so here's the root. This is what I'm talking about. This, you don't want to eat that. There's some more. You can cut around it and then plop that into your compost bucket. And there you go. I mean, you know, obviously you want to just touch up whatever you missed. But overall, that looks pretty... It looks pretty concise, you know. So you cut out like about a step or 2, which is pretty nice when you need to go fast. When you don't, who cares? You can just do it whatever way works. When you don't need to be quick. Okay, so there's the onion. So when I call for, you know, when a recipe calls for a small dice, now you should theoretically know. And if you forget, you can always just come back to this. That way, we'll keep it as like, it's basically going to be like a video library of fun. Okay. Well, I already have the water boiling, so I'll move on to the tomatoes next, because also it's kind of burning my arm a little bit. So, first things first, with these tomatoes, my sheet only calls for 2 tomatoes, but I'm going to do 3 to show you a little bit more. So, these are going to be called tomato petals. What you're first going to want to do a tomato petal, this is going to be, once again, actually, we're going to want to steel our knives, hone our knives. So this, once again, this is a paring knife. You can use your chef knife, and I guess I could show both, but this is for more like precision, so you can really get your fingers close. So this is, you know, you would typically use petals in Italian cooking, but also French, in a sauce chasseur. So, first, make a little X at the top, tippy top. Next, scoop out the butt, so you don't have to worry about that later. You don't want to go too far to where all the guts are spilling out, but you know, you go a little far enough so you can cut the butt out, you know, quart. We'll do that to the others. And this is a fun little exercise also to just, you know, improve your speed. We used to have these timed, and maybe I will start doing that again to stay on my tippy toes. I don't think that's the right word. Whoops. It's like in shape, but with your knife? I don't know. Okay. That, I went a little far around the edge. You just take out the butt, core that, so it makes it really easy to peel. Plop them in. This takes about 30 seconds to a minute. Really not long at all, which is nice. But you gotta be careful. You gotta stay watching, because you don't wanna really make it mushy on the inside. That's what you don't want to do, because you will not be able to peel it very well if you do, and then you'll have to restart. So just keep an eye on them. It's kind of hard to really know when they're good. So we have also now, we'll bring it up. Let me pour some of this out. So what this is going to be called is shocking them. We're going to shock the tomatoes. You get a bowl of ice water. What that's going to do is stop the cooking process, as well as make it peelable. Which you would also use this technique if you want to make hard-boiled eggs. It's going to be extremely useful for peeling the eggs. So you kind of just want to eye them until the top starts kind of blistering. A lot of people, not blistering, like peeling, lifting up. It's already kind of starting. I'll leave those alone until I can kind of see that. And then you really just want to watch them. Make sure they don't cook on the inside, because I mean, they can cook a little bit. They're gonna have to, right? But enough to where it's not mushy. Shortly. This one's looking close. They're close. Very close. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, which is nice. And also the skin will become more peelable once you shock it. So you can see here the skin is already starting to peel, so we'll take them out. Place them in your ice water, shock them real quick. You need it cold enough to really stop the cooking process. Move it around a little bit. We'll slide this over. We don't need that anymore, which is nice. Don't touch that. Onion can go back. You can see here now the skin is starting to peel upwards, but it still keeps that color, and it's not really mushy. It's a tiny bit mushy, but not enough to really, ruin it and have to do it again. So you keep that there. They're already, pretty cool. You don't need them perfectly cold, but, cold enough. Nice, okay. Take that out. So ideally, before you even really get started with the other stuff, you would have that water boiling, so that you can just go. Take them out, put them in, take them out, have them resting while you finish your other stuff, and then you can come back to them, peel them. So, but just for the sake of this, I wanted to really take it slow. You just peel it off. Nothing too special. Once again, so this would be used in like Italian cooking, making like a tomato sauce. You don't want seeds in there, and you don't want the skin, because the skin doesn't really break down as well as you'd like, or really like at all. So it's kind of provides an awkward texture. So see this? It's still pretty firm. I can, my finger's not squishing it when I make a little bit of pressure. And it just peels just like that, which is nice. If you, ideally, if you have it at the right amount of time. It should just, slide off like this. This is, what you're looking for. You can also use this in French cuisine. A couple of sauces would use this, like a sauce chasseur, or I don't think I pronounced that correctly, but that's like a mushroom veal sauce, beef sauce. It's pretty good from what I remember. but I actually left out the tomatoes in my final. Whoops. So I got dock points. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So now that we've got this, we'll move our chef knife. You take the tomato. It's a little warm. It doesn't matter. You cut it down the middle, and then again, it's probably smarter to turn it like that. You take this, and what you want to do is you want to scrape the bottom a little bit. You know, make sure to keep the essence of the tomato and the wholeness. And you're basically, I mean, you can use a spoon too, but you want to keep this. These are called petals. What are these ones really used for? I don't remember. I gotta be honest. You take it. Try not to do what I just did. It might need a tiny bit more cooking than this. This one ripped a little bit in the middle. Don't do that. These are still a little hard, I gotta say. But that's okay. You just kind of want to slice, kind of like you're, I don't know, like skinning a melon. I don't know if you've done that. So you kind of just want to lay them like that. Skin, boom, plop that, boom. Okay, so there's one, and you basically just do the same for all of them. And the last one, we'll do it a little bit differently. Wow, so that was nice. I didn't have to do any work there, it just came off. So that's ideal, that's pretty ideal. You take this and you got them. It doesn't matter what side you start from. This side might be a little bit easier. It's kind of like skinning a fish. Which probably most people haven't really done. Okay, yeah, we'll just skip to the skip to the that one's pretty ugly. Okay. Nice. Okay. Okay. That one's gross. Okay. They cause a little bit of mess, so just beware. This one we'll do a little bit. We're not just gonna keep the petals. You're gonna wanna, I don't know what I'm doing. We will be similar to the onions. It's gonna be a little similar process. We're gonna be kind of somewhat dicing it up. This is gonna be called concassé. Concassé. All right. Well, good thing we're gonna be dicing it because that one would not pass. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Okay. So much fun. Okay. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, so this one we'll keep together. Nice. Okay, that one's better. That one's better. 750. Whoops. Okay. Try and make sure no seeds get in. I mean, for now, this is just practice, so it doesn't really matter. But ideally, just take the extra, I don't know how long, maybe 20 seconds just to make sure that there's no seeds going in, because, I mean, they're somewhat easy to skim out of the sauce or whatever you're going to be making, but it's just kind of a pain in the butt. Why not just take the time at the beginning to make sure that they're not in there rather than, later. Okay, boom. Okay. All right, we're gonna just wipe up. Beautiful. Okay. So the one that we saved, we've got our 4 here. So this is going to be called tomato concasseur or concasse, whatever it is. So it's essentially just small dicing the petals. You'd want to just keep them kind of, pretty uniform. Obviously, they don't have to be perfect, but you would like them to be pretty close. That when you're looking into the dish, you're not like, what? Why is this one so much larger than the other one? Who did this? So those are our tomatoes that we're doing. So, yeah. There's the tomatoes. That's not so bad. It's okay. So you can save them for later. Nice. Nice. Okay. Okay. So first things first, I think we're gonna move on to the garlic. A nice little tip and trick is you're gonna want to really wet your board and clean off all the tomato stuff that you got on there. You're gonna want to wet your board, your hands, your knife. So garlic hates water. So when you do this, it stops the garlic from sticking to your hands. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with garlic, but it's really hard to kind of get off your hands, get off your board, get off everything. So by doing this, it stops the garlic from sticking, which is really handy. Okay. So first things first, what you're going to want to do with your garlic, I'm sure you guys have seen this, but I will explain why people do this. So when you want to take the garlic, place it down, and you want to slam it with your hand. So what this does is, one, it crushes it, so it kind of makes it easier. It makes it a lot easier to peel, is the thing. So just like that, it comes right off, comes right out, and it'll be even easier when you've washed your hands, or wet your hands rather. Whoops. That will, see, it just slides right off. And then that way you're not wasting your time peeling it, wondering why you're doing it, why you're cooking, when you could just order out. So first things first, when you want to mince garlic, you take it and you want to kind of create small little lines. My chef would get mad at me. And then usually after you've done that, you would turn them over, but I think I crushed it a little bit too much, so usually you just keep doing this over and over again, and then you go the other way and you slide. So in school, what they're looking for is like way smaller than this. It really doesn't make much sense why you have to go so small, but I think that it's ultimately just to work on your control, and your skills. It's not for any realistic or logistical reasons other than that. So like this size would be fine. I feel like that would be absolutely fine. You know, as long as you're not having massive chunks of garlic that, you know, kind of ruin the whole dish, you should be absolutely fine. Okay, I gotta wipe my hands more. So that's the whole thing. You just want to kind of repeat the process. When you cut, you want to look right over the knife so that you're kind of creating uniform cuts and you're not going on an angle. That's the ideal. It's hard, it's difficult, but it is useful. Okay, I'm just gonna do it all. I feel like it works just as well if you just want to keep doing this over. You will end up, the better you get at it, you will end up saving a lot of time doing it the other way. But you also, until you learn, I feel like it just makes more sense to just go buck wild. Especially since probably nobody out there is trying to become an actual chef. Well, maybe you are. I don't know. If you are, do it the first way. They'll appreciate you more. So when I was in class, you'd be ideally looking for even smaller than this by like half. It stunk because it takes up a lot of time. And just for the same result, I genuinely don't think it matters in the actual dish. But who am I? Okay, slide it. Take out that. Move it. I don't know why I did that. When you scrape, try to avoid using the actual tip. It just dulls the knife way faster than if you just didn't just use the spine. Other people in my class would do that all the time and then wonder why their knife was so dull. And I'd ask them and they go, yeah. And then you're like, okay, well, there you go. Where to stick this? Okay, so that's the gist of dicing an onion, or garlic rather. Once again, you can just kind of freeball it, do it how you want. Does it have to be like that? No. But it is better for getting better, so maybe that's why I was so bad. All right. Okay. Scrape that on in there. Okay. Okay. clean up. I would recommend keep cleaning while you're going along. It's gonna make life tremendously easier. Usually in class, we would have a sani bucket. I don't have any sanitizer like that, so I don't right now. I'll probably work on getting some. All right. We got a couple more things to do. This should be pretty straightforward. I guess we'll do the potatoes right now. Okay, so here we don't have to worry about peeling because they're not actually going to be in use. But this is ideally how you would do I guess like a fries or something. So you want to start by cutting off the ends and then flattening the potato. Could go even more actually. Take that. This potato is kind of. I don't know. Can potatoes get ripe? I guess. So this is where the looking over your knife really plays a part, which I just realized I'm not doing. You can also just save these ends for something that I'll show you just a tiny bit. So you want to square it off probably as best you can, which I'm not doing. So what we're doing right now is about to be doing a small dice. Well, no, it's not. Well, kind of, yes. What we're really doing is a bâtonnet first. So bâtonnet is, I believe, 2 inches by 1 1/4 by 1/4 an inch. That is the plan. So it's basically small dicing while making it like a rectangle. And then you want to come across and make it a square. This is good for well, I guess 1 fries, but that's probably what you guys are going to be doing. But in the kitchen, you would be making well, you'll eventually see when we make coq au vin, you'll be doing that. Next, to do that, similar, you're going to take one of these, basically this, and cut that up. That's a small dice. And that's essentially it. It's not, once you see it once, you can kind of gauge it. And the more you do, the more it'll be easier to make squares. So that's good. So then for next we have a julienne. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. You take it and it's essentially just a smaller bâtonnet. Like this, just a couple squares. Just keep practicing that. I don't know what in just your day-to-day life you would even use these for. But like the kitchen, some dishes, eventually will be doing beets, and you'll small dice them like that. Just like that. Okay. Next, we got a shallot. You're just going to do this the same way you would do an onion but you're not going to cut it in half. You're just going to leave it like this. And what you'll eventually be doing is just doing what we did for the onion the first way. I don't know that the same trick that I did for the second way with the onion would really work. But there's only one way to find out. Well, which we're not going to do right now. So, you come at basically the same length you would do for the julienne and the bâtonnet, or the brunoise. Well, brunoise is even smaller, but which I didn't show. Keep it small like that. Slice down the side. You would actually want it even smaller than this. Once again, for you guys, for the home restaurant or the home cook, it's really not going to matter much. So basically just like that. You would want it a tiny bit smaller, but this isn't the end of the world. And you just do that and you follow through with that until you're done. This one actually also will burn your eyes, will sting your eyes, but that's part of the game. We'll put that in with the garlic. Why not? Okay, last thing that we'll be doing. This will be used in soups, sauces, things of that nature. What we're going to be doing first is called a sachet or a sachet de spices or something. I don't know. It's French. So this is the thing that we're going to be substituting with paper towels for. Normally, which I have on the way here right now, you would use cheesecloth. So cheesecloth is good for making it's basically exactly what it sounds like. Usually you would use it for like a mozzarella. So first, you take this, you actually, which I forgot about, but it's basically just the same as the garlic. You take the parsley. We only want the stems for this. We're going to keep some of these for another thing. Take these, take the stems. We got some thyme. You can rip it up. It really doesn't matter. Some thyme. We'll do 2 small bay leaves. The garlic. You take it. And once again, ideally you would be using this with something. One, because the paper towel one does this, and it also dissolves. But what you would want to do is you keep it like that. This is for a soup. It's for like aromatics. So when it calls for like aromatics, you would take this. I'll show you guys again when we are making soups, and you would smash it so you can get all the flavors out. Oh yeah, and you put in peppercorns. Whoops. So this is really supposed to just get like a lot of flavors in your both soups and stocks and sauces, whatever you want to, whatever you're gonna end up doing in the kitchen. So our knife tray would call for mincing parsley. I'll just do a little bit. It's basically the same thing. You cut it up small like this. First you would, you just cut it up like this. This is actually what I cut my finger off doing. Basically, and you just keep going until there. And last but not least, what we're going to be doing, this one's really, really simple. So you take this twine. This is called a bouquet. It's basically like a bouquet of flowers, but similar things. It's for the same exact thing that you would do a a sachet for, you take it, probably wrap it around a couple times until until you got a good hold on it and it doesn't. So the idea of doing this is so that it doesn't just go loose. You take this, wrap up like this. You tie it, and then when you tie it, you just take, you can tie it again one more time. You can tie it again one more time, just like this. Ooh, you can really smell it. And then you take these tops, cut it. But what you want to do, you don't want to do that for a sachet, because then you're going to be searching around for it. It's a lot harder to find than like a bouquet would be. What you would want to do in a sachet is ultimately you would take that and then also end up tying it to like your pot handle, so that you can just take that, pull it up, and there it is, and then that's done, because obviously you don't want to keep that in there. But this is your basic fundamentals with your knife cuts. You've got a lot of mincing, your bâtonnets. The brunoise are really supposed to be smaller than this. Your petals, your concassé, diced onion, your sliced onion, and that's really, and then your aromatics, and that's really what all we'll focus on right now, so that you have the basics. And then going through, like next week is going to be stocks, or not next week, next episode is going to be stocks. And so we'll go through that, and we'll be using at least 2 of these techniques there. And I look forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you so much for coming to the first episode. Obviously, throughout doing it more, it'll get better, and we'll be doing more, and you guys will see, some of my friends, people I hold dearly, music, concerts, stuff like that, and it'll be a lovely time. But until then, this has been the first episode. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Peace.